Okay, good morning. Yeah, Ches Amud Aleph. Amar Rabba. No? No, I finished 881. Yeah, we talked about Eruvin B'Shelo Eruvin, right? We spoke about the two machloksim. One is, right? Yeah. Wait, that was... Yeah. It's just the English part. Yeah. So the next part of the Aramaic picks up. It's on 882. Okay, here we go. Ches Amud Aleph at the top of the page, or 882 if you're following in the article. So Amar Rabba, Hada Amras le'emsa rechava mutter. Okay, so that the Rav Yosef said that when the mavoi ends in the middle of when the mavoi ends in the back lot. Remember, so we spoke about a mavoi ending up. You have a mavoi that's open up into Rishus Rabbim in front of it, and then you have the mavoi, and then in the back is a back lot. A back lot. So the Gemara says. So Rabba says, Lo Amran zeh shelo keneged zeh. This was only said when the back lot is not open directly opposite where the chatzar opens where the mavoi opens in the beginning. In other words, you have a public domain over here, and then you have a door to your mavoi, or entranceway to your mavoi, and it opens, and then we said it opens up to a back lot. Until now, we've been assuming, and all the pictures have indicated, that the back lot just opens directly in the back. But now we're suggesting that no, the back lot, in order to be permitted to carry in this mavoi without anything else, the back lot can't be directly open opposite the entrance. Rather, it's going to be shifted over a little bit, so it's less continuous, right? In other words, it makes it a little bit less open. It's still open, but it's not. It's open or just around in the front.
So it's like yeah.
Right. So it's open. It's open to Rosh Hashanah on both sides. Sorry. Again, we're sorry. We're talking about a case where it's open to Rosh Hashanah on both sides. There is a back. There's a yard, not a yard. What's it called? A lot. We're calling it. It's not open up to anyone's houses. It's a back lot, and it's again. And there's Rosh Hashanah over here, Rosh Hashanah over there. Okay, let's go back to the case. Rosh Hashanah in the front, Rosh Hashanah in the back. Right. There's a mavoi. There's an alleyway, and it opens up into a lot. Now, until now, we've been assuming that everything just opens up straight. So if you're standing in the front of the mavoi, you can look and you can see through the back lot into the public domain. Now we're saying no, they're like this, right? Entrance to the mavoi is over here, and then it goes into the back lot. But then if you're looking straight, you'll see the back wall of the back lot. But then you enter the back lot, you turn, and then you go through. Then you'll hit the other Rishus Rabbim, right? So we're saying it's zeh shelo keneged zeh. Aval zeh keneged zeh aser. But if it's opposite one another, then it's going to be forbidden because even though it goes into a back lot, at the end of the day, it looks like it's wide open, and therefore it would not be. We would consider that to be a wide open type of mavoi, and we would not say that the back lot makes it considered closed. You would need to have some other way of fixing the back of the back lot. You have fixing the entrance of the back lot into Rishus Rabbim, because we would not see that as like a ki'ilu, as if it was an end or like a blockage in the back. Got it? Okay. Says the Gemara. Amar Misharshia.
We like it if you have to turn and go.
Correct. It makes it more, right? Meaning this is very logical. It makes it more blocked as opposed to, right? Until now we've just been assuming a back lot is a back lot, and the bottom line is this closes it off because it's not like it's this like weird domain where it's kind of like somewhat private. Now we're saying yes, but if you could just see straight through, then it's still problematic. It would not be enough to be blocking it off, so it needs to be shifted over a little bit. The entranceways have to be shifted over a little bit, that they're not continuous, and therefore then it be considered blocked off.
It'd be more difficult to see why you'd have to have some sort of sign in that case to show, right?
Correct. It's more logical to say that it's closed off. Correct. Amar Misharshia says in Misharshia, Hada Amar Zesh Lo Keneged Zeh Mutter. That we just said, that when the mavoi and the back lots openings are permitted when they're not opposite one another. A further qualification, Lo Amran Ella Rechava de Rabim. Okay, it's only when the back lot is owned by many people. Ava Rechava de Yachid, but when the back lot is owned by an individual, Zimnim Demim Lachala, the individual may change his mind, Uvani Lebatim, and he might build houses opening up into the back lot, Vahavale Kamavoi Shekal Lalatzid Rechava. And it's going to be like a mavoi that opens at the side of a back lot. Okay, V'aser, it's going to be forbidden. In other words, what we're afraid of is as follows. When the back lot, this back lot is like dead space. Until now, we haven't really discussed who owns this back lot. Okay, now we're saying if it's owned by one person, there's a concern. Because if you're one individual, right, and you have this yard, right, I don't know, if you have like extra space, that you have extra land, you might say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and build a house, right? And if you're going to go build a house, all of a sudden it changes the status of this. Now it's considered a chatzar. Now it's going to change the status of this back lot, and that would necessitate, and there everyone would agree, once there's a house over there, that's going to change everything, right? So when it's owned by one person, we're afraid the person may say, hey, this is a source for more income, this is a source for more living space, I'm going to go ahead and build a house there. So if it's owned by one person, we're afraid the person may change his mind. Until now, it's just been an empty yard that they've used as a place to hang out. But now the person's going to go ahead and build a house, which is going to change its halachic status. We're afraid. If it's owned by many people, the Gemara assumes there's no way they're all going to agree what to do, and therefore, if it's currently there's no house on it, until they get around to building a house, we're not worried. We're not worried, right? So basically, Rashi is coming along and saying, if it's built by one person may build a house there, and it's going to create problems. Whereas if it's owned by many people, we're not afraid that that's going to happen, right? So if it's owned by one person, even though he has not yet built a house, we're afraid that he will build a house, okay? And the Gemara now is going to bring a proof to this concept that we're afraid that when something is owned by one person, then there is less restrictions, obviously. One person, they don't have to get like permits back in the day. If it's owned by one person, they can go ahead and do whatever they want. And we're afraid sometimes the person may change their mind, even though currently something might be in a status where it's not going, it's where it's going to have one halacha, but if we're afraid, since owned by one, we're going to bring a proof that one person has the ability to make those changes, and therefore halachically we're going to be concerned about those changes the person is going to make.
We're back to the situation of there's no Eruvin, so that would be the issue.
That would be one of the issues over here. Yes, that would be the issue. Correct.
Then it wouldn't be a problem.
Correct. But there is no house there right now. Correct. Says the Gemara, but not Tamra. Where do you get this concept that one person, that there's a distinction between a privately owned place and a publicly owned place? We're on 8A3. So Deshanilan, Manat Tamra Deshanilan, where do we see that you make this difference? Bein Rechava de Rabim le Rechava de Yachid, between a lot owned by many people and a lot owned by an individual. De Amar Ravin bar Rav Ada Amar Rav Yitzchak, Maisa b'Mavoi Echad. There was a story regarding a certain Mavoi, okay, Shetzidoi Echad Kol Yam, where one side terminated by the sea. V'tzidoi echad kala be'ashba, and one side terminated with a trash heap. Okay, so let's just explain this for a second. By a sea, we don't mean that if there's just water just sitting there, if it's just a regular beach, then that would not make a difference for an Eruv. But if you have a place where there is, what is it called, a bluff, right, where it's just like a cliff basically, where it's just going to be a drop, right, that is going to be treated as a wall. Okay, it has ramifications. A lot of times comes up, people travel to islands and whatever. There's some discussion about, depends on how steep the incline is, it may be considered a wall, okay? And therefore, there is a lot of discussion about any island-type space as to whether or not it's considered a wall, okay? Massive discussion among the post-game about different types of islands. But let's just go with a simple case where there is a very clear delineation. It's like it ends on a cliff, and therefore there is a very clear delineation, and we'll treat that as a wall on one side. Okay, so far you have a wall. Good, that's helpful. Then you have a trash heap on the other, a tall trash heap, which also creates a wall. So you have a wall on one side because it's elevated by the there's a gap between the water and the land. Okay, and then on this side you have a trash heap. Okay, uva ma'aseh lifnei Rebbe, and the question, and let's just go. If you look at the picture over here, the picture does a nice job. Wall of the sea on the one side, you have the trash heap on the other. You have they both open up into a mavoi. You have a public domain in the front, and then behind it you have chatzeros which open up into the mavoi. Cool, you got it. Very scenic, probably heavy real estate. Rosh Hashanah is in the front, right? So I don't know what the real estate's like actually, because you get the cool views on the one side, you're in like New Jersey trash heap on the other side. So okay, the question is, what do you do? Okay, fine. I don't know. Fine. Bottom line is the question came before Rebbe. Velo amar bolo heter iser. And Rebbe did not want to say it was permitted. He did not want to say it was prohibited. He left it kind of vague and open-ended. Why? Iser lo amar ba. He didn't want to say it's prohibited. Dakhaim mechitzos, because partitions existed. Right? There's a chutzner in the back. That's cool. There is a wall on the one side from the sea. That's cool. And then there's a garbage heap on the other side. That's also fine. Heter amar ba. He didn't want to say that it's permitted. Why? Chashina and shemen tinatel ashba. He was concerned that the trash heap might be removed. V'yala hayam certain, or that the sea may bring up sediments. In other words, anything on a sea, what might be an incline today depends on the weather, and depends on all the shifting and whatever. If it may eventually become like too what's the word? It might not be so steep. It might be, what's the opposite of steep? Slope? Not steep. Thank you. Okay, everyone's nice and early. Okay. Bottom line is, it may lose its steepness and therefore lose its status as a wall because the sediments that come up from the ocean or from the sea, and therefore you may lose, right, on both sides. You may lose the status of a wall, and therefore Rebbe didn't want to just say the carte blanche. Oh, it's okay, because 10 years from now things may change and it's going to be aser, right? So let's keep on reading. We didn't bring any proof from here. Ask the Gemara. How do you say? What's the problem? Sorry.
That makes sense to me. Why are you worried?
Why are you worried? What do you mean? Does it make sense?
It does make sense, this question of why are you worrying about it? Because you say it's okay, and then if it changes, you change it. Right?
Okay, but
it's not that difficult.
Well, it is difficult, right? Meaning, in other words, you have scenarios all the time where if someone says it might be okay, but there's so many factors that could change, inevitably change, invariably, which are easy to change. sometimes a person may go ahead and say, don't do something because something may change, right? So especially over here, the water, the garbage, these are things which let's see. So, but the Gemara is still in the middle trying to bring a proof. So the point is, first Rebbe says that he is afraid that things are going to move. Ask the Gemara, how could Rebbe say that he's afraid that the trash heap might be removed? That's not. It's taught in a Mishnah explicitly. Ashma b'shus rabim, gavoa tzar tvachim. If there is a trash heap in the Rishus Rabbim which is 10 tvachim high, okay, with 10 tvachim high in Rishus Rabbim, what do we say? Above 10 tvachim in Rishus Rabbim is called a makom Patur. Wow, look at all these Masech Shabbos people. Okay, fantastic. So if it's above 10 Tzvachim, right? Above 10 Tzvachim, remember we had all these cases where we throw things across Rosh Hashanah. It's above 10 Tzvachim, it no longer has the status of Rosh Hashanah. Okay? It's called Makom Patur. So it's above, so you have a trash heap which is 10 Tzvachim high in Rosh Hashanah. Chalon Shal Gaba, Zorkin L'B'Shabbos. And you have a window open to it in the public domain, right? So I'm living in my house, and I live on the second story, and my kitchen opens up into a window where there's a trash heap right beneath, probably very typical back in the day, and there's a trash heap which is 10 tvachim high. So my house is private domain. This is Mekom Patur because it's high enough, right? And that says the Gemara, Zorkin L'B'Shabbos, I'm allowed to throw the garbage from my window, private domain, into that space because it is a Mekom Patur. Alma, what do you see from that Mishnah? Shani ben Ashma Ram. So what do you see from the Mishnah? The bottom line is you see from that Mishnah that we're not concerned telling you could throw things into the garbage. You may ask, wait a second, why aren't we concerned that people may take things from that garbage dump, and eventually there's no garbage dump there, and you're going to throw it, meaning maybe they're going to clear the garbage one day. Maybe they'll say, this garbage dump is too high. Let's clear it out, throw it all away into whatever, the other garbage, the mass garbage dump, and then you're going to be throwing it outside your window, and it's going to fall below 10 tvachim, and you're going to be over an Isser D'Oraisa of throwing from a private domain, i.e. your house, into the public domain, because you've removed the garbage dump. So how does Rebbe answer this Mishnah? Why in one place is Rebbe saying, I'm concerned that you're going to remove the ashba? Another place, the garbage, another place, he's not concerned with throwing the ashba. It must be, Shani ben Ashba Rabim, La Ashba Yachid. It must be that we are going to differentiate between a trash heap owned by many people and one owned by an individual. In the case of the Mishnah where we said you could throw from your window into the garbage, it must be that's a garbage dump that's owned by a bunch of people. And therefore, why are you allowed to do it? Because until they get around to agreeing, like, you're going to take 5 bags, you're going to take 6 bags, you throw out so much, you throw out so whatever. Until they get around to agreeing to do anything, it's going to be forever, and there'll be a lot of notice, and therefore we're not worried that there's going to be a status change that's going to be like no one's going to be thinking about. But if it's owned by an individual, right? So therefore, in the case of the Mishnah and Shabbos, in the Mishnah, you're allowed to throw it from your window into the garbage because it's high enough. But in the case of when Rebbe said that he's concerned about the garbage removing, it must be he was referring to a garbage owned by one person, and there's a concern that one person, it's easy. One day they wake up, they're in the mood, they're going to start clearing it out, and therefore there's a concern it's going to move, and that's why he was concerned in that case. So you see from here, we do make differences between things owned by an individual as opposed to the public, because the individual has the ability to do things on his own and doesn't have to wait until he gets everyone agreeing. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, Hachanami shani ben rechava d'rabim l'rechava d'yachid. So we're going to apply the same principle where it's a little bit different, obviously, but it's basically the same principle. Therefore, we're bringing support from what Ramashashia said. Ramashashia said there's a difference between a back lot owned by one person versus by the masses. When it's owned by one person, we're concerned. The guy might go ahead and build a house. And therefore he said, when it's owned by one person, we do not let you carry in that mavoi, because maybe overnight, a guy's going to start building a house, and that back lot is no longer going to be a back lot, it's going to be considered a chutzner, etc., etc. But if it's owned by a group of people, we're not concerned, because until it happens, it's going to be a big mess, and that is similar, and that we're learning that from the case of the garbage. Okay? Basic idea is that, committees, groups, everything takes forever. That's the bottom line. Okay, for better or for worse. Okay, says the Gemara. Now we go back to the case of the garbage heap on one side and the wall of the sea on the other side. And we had a Rebbe saying he didn't want to permit it, he didn't want to forbid it. For Rabbanan, do the Rabbanan agree or disagree to this? Right? So we know, again, Rebbe was open-ended, he didn't want to forbid or permit. What about the Chachamim? Amar Rav Yosef Baradimi, Tanu was Tanu Bryce, the Chachamim Osrin. The Chachamim said it is forbidden. in that case. In other words, Rebbe said, well, let it happen. I'm just not going to rule on it. In other words, he didn't want to go on the record saying it's permitted. He didn't want to go on the record saying it's forbidden. He kind of left it open-ended. If you do it, you do it. The Rabbanan said it's forbidden. Again, why? Because there's a concern. Either the sea is going to put enough sediments to unslope it, whatever, to make it no longer a proper thing, or if someone's going to take the garbage, okay? Says Rav Nachman, halacha k'divrei chachamim. The halacha is like the chachamim, that carrying in such a move is forbidden, unless there are proper walls, because we are concerned that the slope is going to be ruined, or the garbage is going to be removed. Ikeda Amri, there's another version. Amr Rav Yossi bar Rav Dimi Tana Chamatirim. Another version says the Chachamim allowed it. Rav Nachman ein halacha k'divrei chachamim, but the halacha is not in accordance with the Chachamim. Bottom line is that we are concerned. Again, according to the first version, we are concerned to the point, therefore it's forbidden. According to the second version, we're concerned to the point that we're not going to weigh in and say it's permitted, but we're not going to say it's forbidden either. Okay. Mereimar pasik le l'sura be'uzle. Mereimar separated mavois, the town of Sura, from the sea with nets. Okay, what does this mean? So if you look at the picture, I'm sorry guys who are driving, drive carefully. So there's a mavoi that opens on one side to Rosh Hashanah, on the other side it's open into the sea. Okay, so it's a bad picture because there's water over there right now, but the point is that really there's no water right there. It's just that water could come there, and Mereimar was concerned that the water might start to climb, and depend. Well, take that back. Even if there's water on those cliffs, I have the case where it's like just a bluff, where it's like you see it open. Even if there's water there, and you know for a fact that there's an incline of that nature, then it would be a good incline. Okay, so really you could have water there, but you have to know for a fact that there is that proper incline. So the bottom line is, he goes ahead and he created nets. Why? Because he was concerned. Amar Chashidin Shemayala Hayam Sirton. He's afraid that again the wall might get ruined because sediments may come and it might create too much of a slope and therefore ruin the wall from it being a proper wall. Okay, so therefore he went ahead and created nets. It's the first time we're seeing that you don't need like a hard surface. You can use a net as the proper surface, but the bottom line obviously has to be probably like a tightly pulled net. But he basically put something at the edge because again we see similar to what Rebbe said before. We're afraid. He too is afraid. Whenever you're going to use an island, you're going to use anything that's submerged in water or around water, where the water sediments might change the nature of the wall. There we have this concern, and therefore Mereimar went ahead and put these nets up in order to prevent anyone from being in violation if anything changes due to the changing waters.
So there'd be no need to have any sort of lucky or anything like that, because
if it's a wall, it's a wall. Yeah, correct. And that would be a wall. Exactly. Now we have another case where I guess the connection over here is that there's going to be some like loose type of mavoi to some extent. Karach budya osivu bebeak mumisa. Okay, so there was a mavoi that was bent. Okay, a bent mavoi. We've been seeing this until now, right? It's a mavoi, a straight, right? Three types of mavois that we've been talking until now. Mavoi mefulash means it's open, okay? A mavoi open on Rosh Hashanah on one side, Rosh Hashanah on the other side, mavoi in the middle, that's a mavoi mafulish. Mavoi saso means it closes off into an area, and then you have a mavoi akum, which is either the L or the U. Basically, it opens on both sides, but it's not straight, right? So here we have a mavoi that is akum, okay? And Baruch Budyo Sivabe Bakum Misa. They rolled up a mat and placed it in the bend. Okay, they placed it in the corner of the bend. Okay, so it's an L, and they placed it in the corner of the bend. They want to use it as a lechi. A lechi normally is a board. Here they took a mat. They must have not had a board around. They roll up a mat, and they stick it in the corner to act as a lechi. Amar Rav Chisda, halok Rav lo k'Shmuel. What are they doing? This doesn't fit like Rav. It doesn't fit like Shmuel. Le Ravda Amar Tarasik Mefulash. Remember, Rav said that a mavoi akum, a L-shaped mavoi is considered open, and therefore, according to him, it's not enough to have a lechi. You would need a full-fledged door frame, right? Door frame at the corner in order to make it considered closed. L'Shmuel d'Amar Tarasu Kesasum, according to Shmuel, who says that it is closed, Hani mili lechi ma'alya, they would need a proper lechi. Aval hai, right? He would say you need a lechi at the end at the opening of the mavoi, but you need a proper lechi. When the wind blows it down and throws it, the wind could easily blow it down and throw it down. Lo klumi, it's nothing, right? So in other words, to be a substantial item, you need it to be able to hold up. And if it's something that could be blown by the wind, it's not considered held up, right? And therefore it would not be valid, right? So therefore to have a lechi which is just going to be hanging there and easily blown by the wind, is not going to be a lechi. So the Gemara says, however, it's not that there's something intrinsically wrong with a mat. If they were to roll up the mat and then to nail it into the door, that would be fine. But if it's not nailed in and something can be blown by the wind, it is not considered up. Okay, that's fine. So that's the bottom line, that a lechi that is loose, the lechi that's not able to be withheld from the wind is not considered a lechi, but if it's nailed in, it would be considered a lechi. I had a terrible story yesterday. My mezuzah, we were shoveling, all of a sudden we look up and we see our mezuzah's gone. Our mezuzah blew off, and then the case broke. Like we found the case in the snow, and we have no idea where the mezuzah is, which is terrible. And like looking all around, but like I have no idea at what point in the night, and this is like super light, right? So basically like blows away, and I guess like retroactively probably fulfilled the mitzvah of mezuzah. It was like held it for a while, but it was really strong winds, and it blew it off, and basically, I don't know. Okay, I could be like across town. I have no idea at this point. But yeah, okay, that is really not really relevant, but it's a little, okay. Gufa, says the Gemara, we quoted above. Okay, Amar Rav Amar Abba Amarav, Mavoi Shnifritz Bimlo Lechatzer. Okay, so here we have a case, bear with me, we have a case of a Mavoi, which is opened entirely to a Chatzer. Okay? In other words, mavoi. Mavoi is like the opening that the chatzeros open into, and then the chatzer is the place where the house is open into, right? So you have house, opens up into chatzer, courtyards open up into mavoi. And the wall between the both of them fell down, okay? So, v'nifritza chatzer kenegdo, and the chatzer, okay, is open, right? So the chatzer is open, the chutzner is open on the other side to the Rishus Harabim. Okay, so basically you have a case where there is a mavoi wall which is open to the chutzner, and then the chutzner itself is open directly to the Rishus Harabim. Chutzner muteres, the chutzner is permitted, umavoi aser, and the mavoi is aser. Why is that? Because we're talking about a case. There's no picture for this. We're talking about a case where the mavoi is the opening to the mavoi is. Imagine you have a chutzner. This is my chutzner over here. Okay, imagine I have my okay, let's use this. This is a good example. I have, yeah. Okay, so can you see this? Okay, so this is my chutzner, and this is my mavoi. Okay, sorry, I don't know how to do this. Okay, this is my chutzner, and this is the chutzner is the bottom, and the mavoi is the top. Okay, now the chutzner, you have walls on the chutzner. You have walls on the chutzner, right, on both sides. And the mavoi is closed off, or is over here. So the chutzner, even though the chutzner is open on this side as well, but on both sides it has partial walls. Partial walls, we'll just see that as an opening, right? And therefore the chutzner is still considered enclosed. The chutzner is still considered enclosed because it has walls on both sides, even though this is completely open over here, right? So the mavoi is completely open. The chutzner is not completely open because the chutzner has walls on both sides of it, right? And therefore the chutzner you're going to be allowed to carry. The mavoi you will not be allowed to carry, right? Got it? Right? So chatzer muteres, you're allowed to carry in the chatzer, umavoi aser, but you can't carry in the mavoi because there's nothing enclosing the mavoi in this case. Okay? Amrle Rabba Bar Ula Rabbi Bar Baya Rabbi Lo Mishnaseni Hizo. Isn't this explicit from a Mishnah? Why? Chatzer ketana shefetz gdola. Let's say you have a small chatzer that breaches into a larger chatzer. Gdola muteres. Here you have the picture. The larger one is permitted. Exact same case. You see that? Because the larger one has partial walls on both sides, right? There's a wall that breaks down between two chatzeros, right? Big chatzer, small chatzer. Now again, the small chatzer it now has no walls surrounding it on one side. Whereas the bigger chatzer, right, it has on the both sides, it has those walls. So it has a small amount of wall.
Which picture are we referring to?
The last picture on the page. Yeah. So he says because the opening between the both of them is just considered like an entrance of the large one. So what is Rav teaching us? Is this case of chatzer mavoi any different than a case of two chatzeros? So Amrle ime hasam, had we just learned it from that Mishnah, you would think chatzer to chatzer is not a very public place. It's two private places, right? But over here, where the chatzer opens also into the public domain, and therefore many people are walking there, I might have said that carrying in the chatzer would also be prohibited because the chatzer opens into public domain, and so that's why he's teaching us that it's not going to be a problem. Ask the Gemara, Vanamitanin, it was also taught, chatzer sharabim nechnas labezo, v'yotz labezo. We have a case, it says explicitly, a chatzer, in which people enter on one side and exit from the other. In other words, a chatzer which has entrances to this directly to the street. Rishus Harabim Latuma is considered a public domain in regards to impurity. Okay, there's certain laws about impurity that relate to a public domain. Rishus Yachal Shabbos, but it's considered a private domain in regards to Shabbos. Okay, we're gonna have to stop. But the bottom line is that that this principle of big to small would seem to be taught elsewhere. And the notion, okay, well, we'll come back to it. Okay, have a great day.